Your Honor, I can't believe I'm here. I just can't believe this is happening. I completely loved him for so long, and he's really deceived me.
How long have you dated him?
Well, we met in high school. I'll give you a little history.
Okay.
And we met in high school, junior, senior year. He was my boyfriend. Totally adored him. We did everything together. We had so much fun. And then I went away to college. And we basically stopped seeing much of each other, obviously. I went to South Carolina, and then I ended up marrying someone else. And I was married for 30 years to a wonderful man, and he just passed 5 years ago. We had 2 children. Thank you. 2 children, and we had a wonderful life. And then he died.
Right. And so how did you reconnect with the defendant?
Well, my sister lived in Los Angeles, where I was from as a child, and I went to high school, and that's where I met Jack. And she said, come live with me. And my kids were all saying, go, you're lonely, you're sad. I never wanted to date again. My kids put me on the whatever that's called, the internet. And
the internet? That was the word you were looking for?
Yeah. And so
how did you reconnect with the defendant?
Well, he got a hold of me.
Okay.
He found out through some high school friends that I was back in LA, and he sent me an email.
Okay.
And it was so lovely, and of course I was so excited because...
So then the 2 of you start dating,
yes.
And how soon do you move in with him?
Well, we dated for about 9 months. The first date was amazing.
Okay, we don't have to go through all the dates.
Okay.
All right, so you move in with him.
Yes.
9 months later, and then how long are you living with him before you discover the secret that caused you guys to break up?
We were living together for 6 months.
Okay, and what happened?
Well, he was out one night with some friends, and I invited his sister over for cocktails and girl talk. I was telling her how much fun and how happy I was. We finally, I didn't feel lonely anymore and sad, and I didn't ever think I'd find anybody again. And she said, well, it's good that you feel that way because, with him still being married, I was what? I was completely shocked that he was still married. He told me that he had a relationship and 10 years ago it ended, and that's it. And he even talked to me about getting married again. And I said, no, I don't think I need to be married ever again. But, he said we could live together and we'd be committed to the rest of our lives. And I thought it was great. And he said,
So you found out he never bothered to get a divorce?
No, he never got divorced.
Right, but you didn't think he was still having a relationship with that woman because you were living with him. You knew where he was all the time.
Well, I knew all the time.
Right, you just didn't like the deception of him still being married because you thought he was divorced.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he ever tell you he was divorced?
No, he didn't tell me.
Did you ever ask?
I just assumed that...
Because he said the relationship ended 10 years ago.
And he asked me to marry him. So, of course, I thought he was divorced.
Well, there's a few details you might have to take care of before you marry him if you ever agreed to.
Of course.
But, so, what happens when he gets home?
I was furious. First of all, I could hardly... my heart was pounding. I was so deceived. I felt so betrayed. I just felt hate. I couldn't believe he would do this to me.
Jack, let's hear from you.
Your Honor, I never hurt out to set Rosie, and it hurt Rosie in any way, shape, or form. She asked me about, my marriage, and I said, we'd been ended, I told her it ended 11 years ago. She never pushed me on a divorce, or was I divorced or anything like that.
Wait. Did you tell her my ex never pushed me to get a divorce and we don't have a divorce? No, you didn't tell her that part.
I told her.
You're blending what you told her and then you're telling me your story. But I need to understand, did you ever tell her you were divorced, yes or no?
No, Your Honor.
And did she ever ask if you were divorced?
No, Your Honor.
Well, this is big. I was hoping it's going to be something cute as this little lady is. And she looks amazing, by the way. I don't know how old she is. Her age didn't come up during this hearing, but she looks amazing. She looks beautiful, I should say. And it's such a rare thing when you have your high school boyfriend that you split ways with, and you were married for 30-something years to a man, you had children, you lived a beautiful life together, and sadly he passes away, but then you reconnect with your high school love, and the love rekindles, and you're together, and you're again in love, and you feel 18 again, or 17, how old they were. And it's such a sad situation. Unfortunately, he decided not to be truthful with her. I don't understand why would he decide to go this direction, but knowing man, I don't think he meant ill. It just happened to be the situation he was in for a very long time. He maybe didn't think that the relationship with Rosie, with this lady, the plaintiff, is going to become serious. And when it did, maybe it slipped his mind. Maybe, you know how men are. There are so many things that they don't really think are important because they're not important to them. He didn't think that staying married to his previous wife, in his head, he already was divorced. Not legally, but emotionally. So I can see why he decided not to bring it up. And it would be kind of weird to bring it up on the first date, right? Because you want to impress your date, you want to show your best sides, and you don't want to bring up, oh, by the way, I'm married on the first date. I can totally see how it wasn't a big deal to him. Let's go back.
Didn't you think that maybe that was a little detail you might share before you asked somebody to move in with you?
Well, I didn't want to hurt, my former wife's feelings.
By what? By divorcing her?
Well, yeah, but she was, I didn't want to, we didn't want to get a divorce at the time because it was too expensive.
I'm not asking you about at the time. I'm asking you about now and why you wouldn't tell her, hey, I think you should know I'm still legally married and I'll take care of it before you end up having her move in with you. Why didn't you tell her?
Didn't think it was anything she needed to know or wanted to know.
Right, you hid it from her, but why did you hide it from her? You didn't think she'd move in if she knew? You didn't feel like paying for a divorce? What is it?
I thought, well, yeah, she might not go for me at that point.
Right, so at what point were you going to tell her? Like, what if she said, you're right, let's go to Vegas and get married? Then what were you going to do?
I'd say, okay.
Go to Vegas and get married and be a polygamist?
No. You're
okay,
right.
so how long were you going to keep this up?
I was willing to tell her and get a divorce at the soonest possible moment if she would marry me.
Okay, but if she wouldn't marry you, then she wasn't allowed to know that maybe she doesn't want to live with a married man. Apparently she has no problem living with a man. She just doesn't want to live with a married man.
Right.
Okay, well, I guess, it was...
This happened to my mother. I swear to you.
Really?
Yeah. She found out, she was dating my father, and she found out that he hadn't gotten a divorce. She wasn't living with him, but she found out he hadn't gotten a divorce. Oh, boy, howdy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She told him, you have exactly 10 minutes to go down to the courthouse and file.
Good
and
for
that's
her.
And that's what he did. They were married for 60-something years.
Good for her.
Right, but she didn't throw him out over it. Like,
And
if
he
she
did
didn't
the
move,
right
and then she
thing.
didn't go to court and sue for her moving costs.
But at least
she just
he told her.
Well, no, he didn't tell her. She caught him. He didn't tell her at all. She found some document or something. I don't remember what the storyline was, but it was something about, she found something that made it obvious. And it was the same thing. He had nothing to do with the woman. They're just too lazy to get a divorce or too cheap. That sounds, that's tracking right there, okay? But, the point is that, she screamed at him and he said, you're right. And he went and he got the divorce, and then she was happy for 60-something years, and I exist. So I guess I'm just curious, do you regret it all, having the reaction you had?
No, I do not.
Because happiness is kind of hard to find, especially twice.
And that's a very good question. I was kind of wondering that myself, if she regrets reacting the way she did. And to be honest with you, I see where she's coming from. At the same time, I believe she overreacted a little bit. Give the guy a break. He hasn't lived with that woman for a very long time. So divorce at this point is just a formality that he was willing to do, by the way. He was willing to take the paperwork and just go and file the divorce right there and then. But in this lady's mind, he betrayed her. And that's why I believe she said, no, I do not regret my decision. Why else? And the judge is right. The love is so hard to find, especially the true love. And hearing her saying to his sister how happy she was, how she thought she was so lucky to find this happiness again. And it just breaks my heart that she did not have enough, kindness, maybe even love to forgive him. And to me, this just comes to this. If you truly love the person, he wasn't cheating on you, he wasn't doing anything illegal or immoral, why not forgive him? Would you guys forgive someone if he was untruthful? Please put it in the comments below, and let's go back.
I know, but I have to trust someone.
Okay.
I have to
All right.
really trust, and I grew up with a lot of integrity and morals and background, and if I can't trust someone, I don't want them in my life. I don't want
Okay.
them in my life
All
if
right.
I can't
so
trust them.
you're suing him for your moving costs because you decided you didn't want to be with him anymore, and then you're suing her for the rest of the lease because she moved out when she found out you were a liar.
Yes, Your Honor. We had, when we moved in together, we agreed to share expenses 50-50. And that was
She
when
found out like a really big secret.
I offered right on the spot to go get a divorce, and she stormed out. She was hysterical. She was,
Yeah, it's the lying part. It's the not being
deception.
forthright part that bothered her, and you can't erase that part. Oh, apparently you can, because my father erased it with my mother. But apparently my father could get away with erasing it, but you can't.
It depends on the person.
Yes, of course. And that's your prerogative. You are entitled to be with who you want to be with. So this had a pretty
manipulated.
serious consequence for you.
Well, I admit I made a mistake, Your Honor, and I was willing to get a divorce. I admit wrongdoing, but she still agreed to help with the expenses, and that's what we're here today about.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to make she's not on your lease, right? She just moved in and agreed to pay for the expenses. It's your lease.
I'm the leaseholder, yes.
Yeah. All right. So what's going to happen is this. Ms. Whitsom, he doesn't have a legal obligation to you to be a better boyfriend who's
Right.
honest and
I
forthright.
understand.
If the courts were to get involved in that, then every moving cost would be recompensable if the litigant were to be able to prove to the judge that the person was a jerk or a cheater or he wasn't a cheater, by the way, but for whatever it is, I had to move out because he turned out not to be the person I thought he was. Yeah, okay. So that happens to all of us, and none of us are special. And then there's consequences when you move in with somebody who you apparently don't know that well. This is one of the consequences. So your moving costs are your moving costs. And now you are the leaseholder who was always paying that lease. And then she leaves you, well-deserved, because that is not something she would have agreed to. Apparently, you should know her. I don't know her. You know her. You've known her since high school. So you probably knew she was going to have this reaction. That's why you kept it quiet instead of just being forthright from the beginning and then, starting off with a good foundation in your relationship. So no, I'm not going to make her pay you a bunch of money when it's your lease anyway into the future. So each of you are just going to eat your own losses, and I wish you both good luck.
Great judgment. I believe that was really fair, and they just have to count their own losses and move on. I honestly, till the very end, I was hoping that there will be some reconciliation between these two, because it's just so cute. It's a great story that they were high school sweethearts, and then the whole life that separated them, they went separate ways, had their own lives, they had their kids, and then they met again so many years later and fell in love again. To me, it's just like she should forgive him and move forward with him together and live happily ever after. But it's just my take. Maybe I'm just hopeless romantic, but what do you guys think? Do you think she should forgive him, or do you think she's in the right and she should move forward without him in her life? Please put it in the comments below, and thank you for watching.